Hello. Uh, I am running behind. Uh, but what I'm doing is saying hello to those of you who watch this after the fact. What you're going to do is you're going to scrub ahead about 5 minutes, and then the talk will actually start. We're going to be talking about marketing of live events, which I do a lot of, and I kind of we'll see if I'm good at it on Sunday because that's my next event. Um, I've struggled and I do a lot of things, so I can tell you some of the stuff I've done and some of the stuff that works and some of the stuff that doesn't work or didn't work for me. But right now, I am going to figure out. We are live. Perfect. And then I can take this. Just gonna go ahead and post the streaming link on the internet to various places. There's so many different social media sites. Heart, and you ignore your heart, and you ignore your heart, and you ignore your heart. Because it's an idiot heart. What else do I have to send this out to? There's something. Oh, the Facebook event page, and then I'm done. Let's see if we can find it. Facebook events. And for once in my life, is there's me, but where's my restream? Oh, here. Kory May normally works with us, and he has a gig, and he's doing a rehearsal today. And then hopefully he'll be at our show in the audience Sunday. It's so interesting. Sometimes this locks up correctly. Add a post. And then not always. I had a good day today, marketing wise. I'm listening to music in my earphones so loud. I was working on a short story. Yeah, what are some things that I do? What do I think actually works? Keeping people invested so that it's like one of the favorite things they do is very important. one of the ways that you do that is to be like, introduce yourself. So I'm going to introduce myself. And it's about 5 minutes from when I said you should scrub forward. So hello to everybody from the future who saw my original intro and then scrubbed it forward 5 minutes. I am Daniel Andrew Boyd. This is a whole thing we concocted, Kory and I, to sort of flesh out our ideas and help systematize for ourselves how we go about starting an open mic and live storytelling event just in general. We think more people should do it, and we think we should be doing it better, as well as helping people facilitate that. So our plan is right now, Kory's taken a bunch of notes from the stuff that we've talked about. We have the transcripts of these 4 weeks, and then we're going to take a week off, do a little bit of percolating, synthesizing, and what's another buzzword that I could use? But like regurgitating so we can put it together. And the plan is to have that be sort of the setup so that the next set of talks in sort of 3 weeks, we'll do this again, and it'll be a very tight 4 1-hour sessions where we're like, this is the things that we think you need to do. And so today I am riffing on marketing. So this is a complete riff. And where do I want to start? It freaking sucks. There's a lot of mind blocks to it. Everybody struggles with it, even people who are good at it. All the salespeople that I know are like, dread the first phone call of the day, and they just do it. Some of the hacks people talk about is you gotta believe in the product. So in the first part, we were talking about going through the product journey for the customer from beginning to end. Like, what are their pain points? Where are they confused? How do you make everything as smooth as possible? Doing that stuff helps you get in the right mindset where you're like, I know that this is good. Doing customer surveys helps you fix the stuff that's bad, but it also makes sure that you know yourself. It can like be that sort of virtuous cycle where you start getting the feedback. And I do more and more, I figure out how to prime feedback. So that's something that my co-host Pri and I discussed just 2 days ago in our last meeting. Was like, we need to get more testimonials going at the show. So I've got somebody coming in to film those, and a lot of testimonials are bad or aren't optimized. What happens in bad ones is like, did you like the show? And then people are like, yeah. Or worse, they're like, eh. And then, you don't share the ehs. But what you can do is kind of like prime them to be thinking in the right direction. One, you have like exuberance. The person who's doing the interview, like, be happy, be excited about the show. I had a good time. Did you have a good time? You can lead these sorts of things, but you also want to get them to be thinking in terms of journey. And you can kind of prime that to help them automatically go into storyteller mode when they're creating their testimonials by saying stuff like, what were you most excited about on your way to the show today? Get them talking in those sorts of terms. Like, what changed now that you've seen the show? Like, get them to be like, okay, there were lots of great storytellers that happened today. one of them was your favorite, but was there one specific moment where you had a moment of like, this really changed my perspective on something? And you get them sort of primed to be thinking specifically. When you ask people really general questions, was it good? Was it bad? They don't go into storytelling mode, and you want them to be in storytelling mode for their testimonials because you want people to have that sense of like, I went to this show, oh, like I was feeling one way, I went to the show, and now I'm feeling better, just like just like a story. And so you help create that by priming the examples. And that's something that I'm going to be trying a lot harder to do in this thing, but it's something that I do a lot in my one-on-one classes and sessions. The way I set it up there is I will tell people to do homework. You see a lot of people who are like, "Oh, what are your takeaways? What are your hot takes?" And that's a really good way to catch things. You can have that call and response during the time. Like a lot of the marketing, again, is about creating a better product in terms of like what that means for a live event is that the people there are having a really good experience. You want that just thrill of being at the show. You want them primed to be listening. Uh, that way, they want to come back. They want to tell their friends. Telling friends, that is a big thing. Word of mouth is number one. You want referrals. How do you get referrals? I tried really hard to do referrals for my show this time in a way that I haven't before. So I went and I wrote a very personal email to everyone who had ever bought a ticket, asking them to invite a friend who hadn't been there before. I then went through and hit them up a second time with a discount offer that did not do well. I'll have to see if people come back and hit me up. But what did do well for me is straight up phone calls and just like that sort of connection. Oh, there is a program that I have used called Bonjoro, and people love that, and people were hyped when I use that. It's very similar to a phone call, but it goes through email, and you could do it yourself through anything, but the app is more convenient. And basically what it allows you to do is hit a button, you record a short video, they email that video to the person on your email list. And you do it. Like you do, like a lot of the marketing around it is confusing. It makes it seem like it's like an AI trick to make it seem personalized, and that is not what it is. It is the hard, grindy work of doing a personal thank you or a personal ask via video to people. But it is strong, and if you word it right, if you're going through the work of doing a personal video, also you might as well do the work of doing a personal email as well. Any sort of copy and paste job feels like a copy and paste job. People resonate more when they are getting something that feels bespoke, that is bespoke. I think we're, even in the age of AI, you're still feeling like you've got that sense, and it just changes the dynamic for it. There is my favorite book on marketing, which I don't implement enough. is called Hitmakers. And let me look up and try to throw into Restream's chat a link to this thing. It is like by far my favorite. Okay. Hi, Susan. So let me look up Hitmakers so I can get you the link. Hitmakers. This is an affiliate link. There's so many garbage books. And this one is like, this is the answer as to why all the marketing advice you've ever gotten is garbage. There it is. So, basically, it goes through the ages and looks at 4 or 5 key examples of virality, starting sort of from Renaissance painters, moving up to pre-AI digital age. And what this guy finds out is, and the author's name is Derek Thompson, what he finds out is this idea of virality, which is people seeing it and sharing it, is false. The number on what makes something viral is like much bigger than you think it is. I have in my circle of tech hustle bro Twitter people, I have a lot of people, and we're like, oh, that's awesome, you went viral. But they don't really ever hit it. They'll hit 100,000 views, 200,000 views on something. They'll get hundreds of shares, but they never are in like, it's something like 3 to 5 million unique views, I think, is like the Wikipedia definition of something going viral. It's like really, really big. There's a little bit divergence from this topic, but one of the things I want to talk about, one of the things I will mention about this is because of the nature of how it works, 80,000 feels the same as 2 million, because they will start clumping your notifications, and it's just over a day or two. And if you get 100 notifications, then, you know, whatever you've gone viral on, whatever you've gotten this push from, will ping you the same number of times. They're not going to ping you more. So like sort of the dopamine hits are really pretty similar as what I've had people tell me from their experiences. Back to the book and to marketing. What he found was people have this false memory of it being shared, and they don't really find things through sharing. They find it through a major news source having shared it. I am going to give you one of my own examples that I ran into that wasn't in the book. There is a woman who has a dog named Stella. She was the first woman to teach her dog how to talk via adaptive buttons. She posted basically every day for 2 years. and she never got more than 100 views on her reels on Instagram. She's very dedicated to this because that's how she decided to document. She was sort of doing it for herself. And she would do the stuff that the internet told you to do, follow other dog things and blah, blah, blah. But it just never took off. And I want to like point this out. She had a talking dog. She had the world's first talking dog. Now there's hundreds, but she had the first one, and that thing did not go viral until she went and gave a talk about it at her alma mater, and they pushed it to Yahoo News. Then Yahoo News put it out. That sent all this traffic there, and then the algorithm was like, "Oh, we can show this to more people." Like the powers that be always tell you this story that, "Oh, we test it out and we do these things and it keeps growing in circles and circles." But what Hitmakers shows you is one, it's more about, are you driving traffic to them? And if you're driving traffic to them, they will bump that up and drive more traffic to you. And two, it's about these other news sources rather than human beings hitting the share button. Because a collection of human beings hitting the share button to each other is pretty cyclical. So your 200 friends who hit the share, you all see the same thing over and over and over again. So you feel like stuff is getting shared, but really you're all reading the New York Times, and a half dozen of you are sharing it to each other, even though you've already read it on the New York Times. That is his thesis, and he does a good job of sort of convincing me that that's how that system works. In terms of doing marketing for a live show, what are some other things that I can talk about? Getting on calendars. So I guess hooking into the Hitmakers thing, one of the things you want to do is figure out how to get on people's radar who have a bigger megaphone than you and will be willing to be like, this is cool. So figure out what your human interest angle is. And I'm not good at this, so this is not from experience, personal, but just from the stuff that I read and that I see my friends do. But also, I can say that when it happens serendipitously, that's like one of the biggest ones. We have done well when we hit up teachers. Teachers have a good outlet to people who like literary type stuff, and storytelling is akin to, book readings and poetry readings. So I recommend getting a list of local PhDs, heads of literature departments, and just sending them the buzz, because they're often looking for things to talk about in their newsletters and mention in their classes. You can look, some of what I will do when I do write-ups like that, and this will, now that I'm saying it out loud, this is something that I'll work on for my April show. But you write it up and you're like, hey, this is a great place. If you have somebody who's writing short stories and poetry and stuff like that, this is a great place for them to work it out in public. Please send me your students who you think are good, do introductions with me, so on and so forth. If you have teachers who you think are good, get them to come on. Give them reason to show up. Similar to that, I think the influencer marketing is real. people do go to those like, what's happening in Chicago or this cool restaurant, and make decisions about what they're going to do that weekend based on what has been shared in their feed. I have experimented with ads for the last couple months on my thing. I have not cracked them. I've definitely read a lot about it and taken some Facebook ad classes. It feels like gambling. But what I can tell you about the mechanism that I hope will be helpful to those listening to it who are thinking about doing ads. You need a pretty big bankroll to make it work because they aren't good at targeting. So most of the things that I read are like around $3,000 is what you need to spend on ads to sort of get them to find enough people who actually like the stuff that you do or the product that you have. So then they can cross examine what are the similarities? What are the 10 things that these people who bought your product have in common so that we can push the next $3,000 at that connection. Does that make sense? And so the people who do well with ads, one of the things that I hear them complain about is like, oh, I spent, $1,000 on ads and it did really well for me. And so I was like, I'm going to do it again. And I spent another $1,000 and it did horrible. Or I upped it and I spent $5,000 and it didn't break even. So one of the things that happens is it will find a pool of 10 things that people all have hit the like button on that will also buy your product. And it just runs out of those people quicker than you would expect it to. That there's just not that many people who like those 10 things. So then it has to start searching for another set of 10 commonalities and finding the pools of similarities between these different demographics that want to attend your event or buy your product or whatever. So that's sort of what happens a lot of the time when you have a good hit with ads and then they fall off, is that the system is just run out of people that have the characteristics that buy your thing. And so now it's looking for a whole new pool of people that are trying to get to your event. What are fun marketing things? How do we get... I'm a big believer on being on event calendars. It was better before. If you are a 501c3, we've moved to a system called Zeffy. So we sell our tickets through there. But we also put our tickets up on other places because we just want the reach and people to be able to find us. And there's really no discovery on Zeffy. You have to push all the traffic there. Whereas if you use Gold Star, I forget, they're kind of restrictive on who you can use. Here in Chicago, there's like half price tickets. The more ticketing places that you go on, all those places have incentives to show your event to people who might want to go to your event because they get a vig, they get a cut from everything. And a lot of them will sell advertising to push you higher in the ranks. What else can I talk about marketing? Can I say anything interesting about copy? This is another thing that I don't think I'm good at, but when you're writing about your event, benefits more than features. So what does somebody get? Like, think about the joy they receive going to your event. Think about that feeling they're going to get. Think about that sense of status. Think about that camaraderie and community. Those sorts of things, rather than we're going to have 4 features. You're going to have a good time. What's really an internal motivator for people to come out and do something? I think features matter. There are people in the popular zeitgeist who other people want to see. And once you get somebody good at your show, you can reuse that over time. Right? You can put that into marketing and be like, this is the sort of person who came to our place. Hopefully your show is good and you have good taste. So when you're doing your features, you're looking for this sort of who's going to keep growing. So you can kind of be like, oh, we had that person back before they won 1,000,000 Moth Grand Slams. Oh, we had this person before they had that awesome podcast that now everybody knows about. I have had a couple of good hits. Cameron Esposito did our show. Tim Barnes. I think Heidi Granberry is going to keep being awesome and like grow and grow. And she did our workshop show. This girl in Florida who's like popping off. So just doing it a long time with people who are consistent and reminding the world that they can see fun things, sort of get that sneak peek if they come to your indie show. I think that's worth marketing and talking about. I have another technique that I use, which is sort of the endless idea generator, which I have gone through in various like writing classes that I've done online. It comes from these guys at Ship 30. I have a little bit of a twist on it where I just set it up in 3 columns and it's like how to, origin story, ad. And we start with an origin story, then we turn that into a how to, and then we turn that how to into an ad. And all of these can have calls to action at the end, but the ad is written like an ad and feels like an ad. Oh. There's something about the ad format that personally I feel motivates action to buy tickets and show up. Like, you can be talking about it in sort of an organic way till you're blue in the face, but the ad is in some ways a sense of conviction, and it's just a much stronger, like, I really want you to come see my thing. I really think that it's going to be good. What else can I do to talk about marketing? What are some pitfalls? What are some things that I think don't work? What has been bad for me? Almost everything I've ever paid for has not worked out for me. I think is true. If there's like a calendar that's like, give us $80 and we'll put it on a calendar, or I feel like I haven't seen that. There was I went to a talk where a guy talked about a bunch of things he did, and it was similar. Almost all of them didn't work. He did one where I forget the number. I think it was like big. It was like 50 grand. And he put an ad around every newspaper in the city. And it was like a good one. It was like, this will give you a free ticket to any show at my theater. And he had one person use it. I think after the fact, he did think about it, that it's like, that's the first thing you clip off and just toss. You don't even read it. You don't think about it. But they, had a sales guy come in and pitch it like, this is going to be front and center. It'll be on all the newsstands. It'll be all over. It'll be sitting on people's things. We make it bright colors. Everybody's going to read it. And that seems like it will make sense. And then when it doesn't work out, you think about it a second time and you're like, oh yeah, we're so good at turning certain ads off that I guess it connects to the other one, and why sort of Facebook ads or other kinds of social media ads do work is that it's a repeated instance of seeing them. So in my experience, if you spend like $300 to $500, it will tell you that it showed your ad to 1,000 people 2 to 3 times. And it tries to hit them multiple times because people don't see it until it gets repeated. I think in lowering CPMs for us, which is just sort of the idea of like a cost per click kind of thing. Having more creative is better. So people see, if they do click on it, they get a little different thing that they're reading. There's a little different visual. There are easy ways to flip that up. One of the things that let me stay on this. Easy ways to flip that up. So you can change color palettes. You can change positioning of words and things like that. It basically keeps the ad the same, but because it's visually different, it will sort of wake people up and they're more likely to see the second or third time, like, oh, this has changed a little bit. Oh, the words are in a different place, or it means the same thing, but it's said in a different way. Oh, one of the things that I've been trying, and maybe in 6 to 7 weeks when I do this lesson again, I'll have more feedback about it, is writing stories about, like, short fictional parables about people going to the shows. Those, I'm not so sure that they're converting, but people are definitely engaging with them in a deep way. And for those, I use AI a lot. I use Claude. I talk to it a ton. So I talk to it about marketing. We sort of brainstorm. I brainstorm with the chatbot what it thinks should happen. I give it updates. And eventually, I give it a transcript of the show. We've already talked about it. We've created a sales page. We've created the sort of copy of, like, what we want to go to the show and things like that. And then I'll ask it, after I give it the transcript, write me a story about somebody going to the show and having a good time. And I've done that twice now. And with anything, you have to do a fair amount of massaging. But I have really liked the way those two stories have come out. And it's the first time where I have asked it to give me a first draft. Yeah. There was something else that I was like, doesn't work. Oh, Facebook groups. I find for storytelling events, total waste of time. I've never had a client come from a Facebook group, and I find that I do it regularly, even though I know that that's the case. In part because so many people do. Like, all of the storytelling Facebook groups, all the local ones and the virtual one and things like that, are just ads for different people's show all the way down. And you can scroll for ages and nobody's even hit the like button. You know? So I think that feels like a waste of time. What is a little bit less a waste of time is, instead of doing a poster, you do a little write-up to try to get some real interaction with people, and then you can lead into, like, a friendship, and then you can just do a DM thing. You know, the marketing is a lot of the hand-to-hand combat of getting to know people and asking them to come to the show. And if your show is good, what I have found is, you know, you sort of need 3 sold-out shows, and then you will be sold out forever, because you'll have enough people who will just always come to the show. You know. Boom. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Dan. Sorry about that, everybody. I'm in
No,
Wilmette.
you.
I'm in Wilmette, Illinois. Not that far from Dan, but miles away. It's a lifetime away.
Yeah, uh, and tomorrow's the real show
Yes,
for you.
tomorrow's a real show. This is
Yeah,
the
I
rehearsal.
screwed up.
You screw
They
up.
sold, because they sold out. I was
Um,
gonna come cheer you on.
if you want to come, I can see if I can find you a ticket.
You're gonna find me a ticket. I have friends from out of town. Can you get us 4 tickets?
I'll try.
Yeah,
I'll reach out.
you'll reach out and see. Yeah, if they.
Yeah.
Sometimes that happens. All right, cool.
I have a strange way of making industrial accidents happen.
Uh, yeah,
So
get
right now I'm at the Wilmette Public Library in the
cool.
snack area.
Uh, I am impressed that it is open. How late is
They're open
Wilmette's
till
library
9
open?
o'clock.
Wow, that's great.
It is. It's pretty cool.
Uh, so I have not gone in any super concise order. So I'm just gonna ask you, you know, the the easy question, like, or maybe the easy, but the obvious question, which is just like, what marketing technique do you think is like the number one thing that you've ever done? Where it's like, I did this and people came.
I'm going to throw back to what I said on the first podcast. It's relationship building and then word of mouth. You have to get it in front of people a lot. Now, we've done several things with Teller's Bridge, such as Facebook ads.
Mm-hmm.
That's been all right. We have ads on Iowa Public Radio.
Ah,
And if you're interested in doing that, call up your local public radio people. They're always looking for people to advertise. And depending on what time of year, it can be a very worthwhile investment because your audience is kind of juiced already. Because if you're listening to public radio, you're familiar with The Moth or This American Life or Snap Judgment or any of those types of shows, right?
yeah.
And if you're familiar with that, it makes perfect sense that you would go and try to see live local storytelling.
Yeah. What do you like, what is the process for setting that up? I've
Well,
never tried
first,
to do that. Like, I don't even know. Do they just have a website and you
well, yeah, I'm pretty sure you'd go if you were looking at WBEZ, you'd go to wbez.org or whatever it is, and then hit contact us, and from there, I'm pretty sure they would have something that would say advertise with us.
well, what was your is
I,
that's what you did?
Yeah, that's what we did. And then they told us what the prices were, and sometimes you can find advertising specials, and that would be a good thing. You have to find
Do you,
places.
do you know
Go
what
ahead.
like the prices are? Like, do they
I
do it
think prices
like,
might be different between Iowa,
well,
my
sure,
town.
but just like yeah, but like what is it?
I don't have my exacts. Um, and also you have to look and listen
Do
to
they
see
give
if they
you a
have specials. Sometimes they will give you a special, like a 2 for 1 or something.
okay. But like, are they telling you how many people are
Yeah,
going to
they'll tell
listen
you.
to it? What are
Um, well, it depends. You'll be able to negotiate where it's placed, and that will be. So let's say I was doing it through on a Saturday morning with for us it might be after or during wait wait don't tell me or going into um, in or out of This American Life or even during The Moth. Pow. you've got your audience. They're there. We paid like, I want to say like $1,000 and got, at one time we got, again, a 2-for-1, and it was like, um, 36 spots. I'm not sure. I don't remember the exact details,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
you advertise several times a week, that can work for you. But I would say for our audience, check out your rates. Check out your public radio, check out your rates, go for there. The other thing that you might do if you're doing radio advertising is find a radio station that is compatible with whatever your values are. If you know that your audience leans one direction or another, then you find a radio station and see if you can advertise on that as well. In Iowa City, there might be an opportunity, or you might have a ProPublica kind of, or Democracy Now radio station or something like that. See how much the rates are and listen. You listen to find out.
Nope. I did not kick him. Yeah, that's super cool. So, and I think it does open up a lot of things. Like, there are a million places, like we all know Google ads and Facebook and things like that, and it's streamlined to be easy. But think about, where is your audience and how do you get in front of them? So one thing that I also want to start thinking about is the idea of going to other people's shows and finding the people with email lists and giving them money to be like, do a plug for me in your email list. I think that's going to be my April play. And I reached out to a couple people this month, but I didn't get anything solidified.
Again, I think it comes back down to relationships that you build. And if you are friendly, if your relationships are friendly, those plugs will come organically. I mean, you may pay for them, which is cool, but they will be organic as opposed to forced. If everybody's in the same boat and you're and you are cross referring, right? Then that's transformational because both of you are going to benefit, as opposed to it being simply transactional. I pay you money and you put in a plug.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that this was good.
for the 8 minutes that I was here.
Well, I'm just saying, I held down the boat. I said some stuff.
I'm sure you did.
You did great.
I will
yeah.
I will be back definitely full next week, so we can discuss more of all these things.
And we are in. Let me see. And so, yeah, and we sort of kept up with this one the whole time, but the next week is customer attention. What do we do to be sort of super community focused and keep the people coming?
Oh, absolutely. That's the important thing on that is just remembering that we tell stories, but if we have no audience, it's kind of like we're just telling to each other, which is fine, but you really want that audience.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, everybody at Facebook and on Twitch and everywhere else.
So bye. I'll see you next week.
Yeah, I'll see you. I'm going to see you on Sunday, right?
Yes, I'll see you on Sunday.
Maybe even, or is that technically next week? But maybe even Saturday. Who knows?
From your mouth to God's ears.